and welcome everyone, this is Dani, and today I want to give you a little tour of my current workstation setup. I'm going to show you what this setup includes, how it helps my daily work, and why I think that it is special in its own way. Let's start with the computers themselves. Yes, I use two computers, my AMD gaming PC that I built 2 years ago, and my new MacBook Air M1. The PC is used mostly for gaming these days, some video encoding and software development every now and then, while my MacBook handles my daily browsing, school, work, most of my coding and my video editing. I also use the MacBook for recording voiceovers like this one, simply because it's a passively cooled machine and it is completely silent. The two machines share the same peripherals. All my USB devices are plugged into a 4-way USB splitter, so I just need to plug that one cable into either my PC's USB 3 port on the top or into the USB-C dongle that is connected to my MacBook. That same dongle is also connected to a power adapter, an Ethernet cable and a HDMI cable that is plugged into my monitor, and it also includes an SD card reader too, so usually I just need to plug this one USB-C dongle into my MacBook and it's ready to use. I always keep the MacBook and the PC plugged into the display, and the monitor will automatically switch to whichever one is active, or when both of them are on, I can quickly switch between them with the joystick on the back of the display. So as you can see, it does take some time and logistics to set up a dual machine setup like this, but it can be very convenient when it's done properly, and even more convenient than this if my PC had USB-C, for example. Before we move on to the peripherals, let's take a look at the exact specs of these two machines. The Ryzen PC was built in 2019 using new parts. A GB B350DS3H V2 motherboard, a Ryzen 5 1600AF CPU, two 8GB sticks of 3200 DDR4 RAM, a GB RX 570 4GB GPU, a Corsair 450 watt power supply, and a 240 GB SATA SSD. Later on, I upgraded the stock CPU cooler to an ID cooling tower cooler, added more case fans, and a faster 240 GB NVMe M.2 SSD. It handles pretty much everything you throw at it, and I love this PC a lot. It's my first custom built PC and I'm very happy with it. Currently, the NVMe SSD has Ubuntu Linux installed on it, while the SATA SSD has Windows 10. I tried Windows 11, but the GPU drivers weren't quite stable, so I decided to stick with Windows 10 for a bit longer. The MacBook is the latest 2020 Air model with the M1 chip, and the most basic configuration with 8GB of RAM and 240GB storage. I always wanted to try a MacBook, and the M1 models offer great performance for the price, so I decided to finally pull the trigger, and I am extremely happy with it. In fact, it is now my main machine. I only really turn on the PC for gaming these days, as the M1 handles my 1080p video editing needs and coding without ever breaking a sweat, and I found the macOS very convenient and easy to use. There are a few nice games that I can run on the Mac, but if I'm being honest, I mostly just play Counter-Strike and Apex Legends with my friends. And I have a proper gaming PC sitting right next to me with a dedicated GPU, so there's just no need for me to ever game on my Mac. So that's all about the computers. Let's talk about the peripherals. The latest addition to my setup is this beautiful Dell 27-inch 165Hz curved display. It replaces a 2-monitor setup that I had earlier, but recently I started to prioritize physical desk space over display area, and my setup definitely looks a lot cleaner this way. It also saves a lot of electricity to use only one display, but that's a topic for my next video about how to be a responsible tech enthusiast. The keyboard I currently use is the EpoMaker SK66 with a split spacebar, Gateron optical red switches, dedicated arrow keys, XDA profile keycaps, factory looped stabilizers, and a foam modded plastic case. It is connected to the aforementioned USB hub via an angled USB-C cable that runs through my monitor's cable management hole behind the back of my desk. Next to it is my Deluxe M700 mouse with the BMW 3327 sensor. It is a great lightweight value champion that I really recommend. My mouse's cable is also ran through the monitor and connects to the same USB hub. Then I have my Blue Yeti in cool grey color. This replaces my old Fifine T669 as my main microphone for my online meetings and of course YouTube. This microphone also has a headphone output, so I also use it as an audio interface as it sounds really great in my opinion. On the top of the monitor sits a cheap but very impressive Lenovo webcam, and I also usually have my Sony SRS XB33 speakers on my desk when I'm not using my Corsair gaming headset. There are lots of peripherals on my desk and everything is wired. So as you can see, even though I try to manage all of it as much as possible, there's still a lot of wiring everywhere. So it is definitely going to be my next priority that I replace my keyboard, mouse and headset with wireless models. But for now, I think I'm really happy with these. As you see, there is not much RGB around my setup. There's a blue light on the bottom of my monitor that I turn on when I work in the dark. And my mouse lights up in all sorts of colors, but that is simply because there's no macOS driver unfortunately, so I can't turn it off. Recently I found that RGB distracts me during the night, and during the day I really just want to enjoy the natural light coming through these huge windows in front of me, so there is as little RGB as possible. I still turn on some LEDs every now and then and light up my whole room in blue, but by default I tend to leave all the RGB off these days. Finally, there are also a few plants on my desk. I just like to look at them and water them every now and then. And as you have probably seen in my previous videos, there's often a cup of coffee on my desk on a coaster featuring a forest animal. My setup is always changing. I like to always shape it to fit my needs as well as possible. It's not something that I like to show off a lot, there's nothing extreme about it, but it is the setup that suits my needs the best and it makes me very happy every day. I hope you liked this video, and if anyone would like to share their setups, there's a channel for it on our Discord server, so I would really love to see your bottle stations too. Thanks for watching everyone, stay safe and I'll see you next time.